Hi. There's no one here yet. I'll wait. Oh, I shouldn't put my phone on its side, I guess. Hold on. Get it plugged in. There's my stand. Oh, go get my stand there. Hi. Napoleon's over here. Oh! You trying to sit in my lap? What you want to do? Hi, everybody. We're going to talk about my DMs that are being lit up by this absolute gem of a dick. Because his name's Richard, which is even funnier because he's definitely a dick. Alrighty. Napoleon doesn't like dicks. Vaccine mandates are medical tyranny. Say no. Do not comply. And if a business is complying, leave that business. Don't attack the people that are, enforcing this, because the fact of the matter is that they're too far gone. They think that there's, they're too far gone. They think they're just following orders, so just don't frequent establishments that are following vaccine mandates. If you can, try to support businesses that aren't. There's not that many, but yeah, freedom of choice, my body, my choice. It's pretty much, very much a feminist issue. Where's my water? I think it's over there. So it's interesting. This guy's still lighting up my DMs. I don't know if he's noticed that I've gone live yet. I'm live. I'll tell him. Gonna shit talk you. You're not a conspiracy theorist for saying no. You're not. There's no such thing as conspiracy theorists. There's just people that understand that there is a concerted effort to censor scientists, and if that's happening, that's a bit weird. And you're allowed to ask questions. Sometimes when I get really angry, I get all shaky. And I'm kind of like that right now, but I don't care. He says, please don't, I'm a private person. Yeah, right. Oh, man. He thinks he can just DM me about his sex life, trying to justify his own sexual behavior, and I'm not going to be like, ew, look at this man DMing a feminist trying to justify his own sexual abuse of his past partners. Ew. Okay. So it basically started with, him posting... Hold on. Just breathe. Do some mindfulness. Do some breathing exercises. Okay, so he started by saying, I respect you, but some of your ideas are so divorced from reality. All of my male friends, including me, get really uncomfortable with what women ask of them sexually. And this is where I'm supposed to feel bad for the men being uncomfortable. The choking, the slapping, the name-calling, the spitting, these aren't things men generally want in a sexual relationship, but feel they have to do. Again, I'm supposed to feel bad because they feel pressured. By what? What's making people think that this is normal and acceptable? Porn. Okay. I had a friend who ended a relationship because the girl insisted he chokes her till she turns blue. Her words. He was so scared he might end up hurting her. So what I read from that is that he did choke her, but was worried that he would end up killing her and then facing justice for murder. Okay. Porn has corrupted everyone's minds, but wasn't as though triple and gangbang porn was developed because there was a demand for it. There's a greater agenda at play. Exactly. So the greater agenda of getting women to accept being choked and being anally penetrated and, tied up, all of these different things. Daddy's Little Girl, that whole, like, role-playing as a child and a parent, incest, pedophilia. All of that is an agenda that's being pushed by porn. Porn is very powerful propaganda, and it makes people think that they want this stuff. It makes women think that they want this stuff, and that's the important fucking bit that Megan doesn't seem to get, and that this man definitely doesn't get because he's a man and he refuses to get it because if he gets it, he has to admit that he is an abuser. Okay, so I said, because he said all of his male friends were getting uncomfortable, and I said, men don't get to say she was asking for it. Men know right for wrong. Are men children? And he said, that's basically saying women are children. Again, projection, right? It's this idea that, Simon says. If Simon says, then just do it. That's what men are saying. Like, well, she said I could do it, so I did it. No critical thinking. No long-term thoughts of what is this impulsive action that I'm about to do how is this going to impact our relationship, our relationship dynamic, our sexual future? None of those are into consideration. It's just, well, she said I could do it, so I did it. But he's saying that women are the children in the situation because they're asking for it. But the men are the one that are doing it when they're asked. So what does that say? It says that men want to do it, but they only do it when they're given an excuse to do it. If a woman says, choke me, and a man chokes her, that says that he wants to choke her and was just looking for an excuse to do it. How is that not obvious to every other fucking person? Anyways. And I said, the choking, the slapping, the name calling, the spitting, and I said, then they shouldn't do it. Set an example and treat her the way she deserves to be treated. It's really not hard. Men have a choice, and they choose to be violent. He said, men are desperate for validation from women. And he said, that's basically saying women are children. And I said, I'm saying that women are more than likely victims of childhood sexual abuse and grooming by older men into being accepting of sex acts that are detrimental to their emotional and physical health. Yes, this is all about my last post. I'm reading the DMs with this guy. And he said, perhaps that's fair. No, it's just fucking obvious. The statistics read true about that, especially nowadays when porn is everywhere. Women are groomed from a young age to accept sex acts that are detrimental to our emotional and physical health at the expense of male pleasure, because that is what pornography and propaganda is aimed towards. It's not about women's pleasure, it's about men's pleasure. And that's why I said women don't want anal sex. Women don't want to be slapped. Women don't want to be choked. The women saying they do have been abused and are re-traumatizing themselves as a coping mechanism, right? He says, but I'm not entirely convinced. Yeah, because I'm proving to him that he's a predator and an abuser and is trying to apologize for his own abuse by saying that the girl asked for it and that he didn't have any equation. There was no equation. There's no part of him in this equation that has to take any responsibility for his own actions because she said it was okay. To the whole thing, I had a friend who ended a relationship because the girl insisted he choke her until she turns blue. Her words, he says. I said, he should have told her parents she was asking for that so they could get her mental health counseling. That's out of your depth, fair enough. But you don't just do that. You don't go along with that request unless you want to. Like, you have a choice. You have independent choice and responsibility for your own individual fucking actions. Anyways. And I said, you don't do bad things to people just because they ask you to. Have you never heard of masochism? That's what this is. Mentally unwell people can't fix their own brains. Their brains are unwell. They need outside help. And then he goes, talks about something. She ended up telling her school counselor, I don't know, something. I don't care. The men are desperate for validation from women. What I said was, I see that men are desperate to be violent and make excuses for it. And he said, that's not true at all. I speak very in depth with men about what they want, and it is absolutely not that at all. he who doth protest too much. Most of that hardness is a veneer because women seem more interested in men like that. I don't know what the fuck that's supposed to mean. Like macho, like you have to pretend to be macho. No, I'm talking about violence. I'm talking about actual physical violence, not a projection of an ideal man or whatever the fuck you're saying. He says, to be crude, my last girlfriend preferred anal, and it was the only way she could have internal orgasms. Okay. I said, fuck off, you liar. Okay? Women don't have prostates. There is nothing in our assholes that would give us an orgasm. And when we talk about an internal orgasm, guess what? The organ that gives women orgasm is the clitoris, which is both an external organ and an internal organ. The internal organ goes around the vulva and around the vaginal canal. And where they meet the vaginal canal is our G-spot. That is where we can stimulate the entire clitoris by pelvic muscle contractions and with thrusts, right? All of that leads to our clitoral orgasm. There's nothing in a woman's asshole that leads to her orgasm at all. You'd have to stimulate everything else at the same time for her to be able to orgasm. Men who have anal sex, like gay men, their prostate is located in their asshole. That's why it's pleasurable for them, because that is anatomically the equivalent to the spot where their clitoris meets with where the clitoris meets with the vestibular bulbs and the interior wall of the vagina. I talked about this in my video where I go over samlocks and how a penis is not a vagina inverted and all of that shit. Anyways. So, yeah, as soon as he said that his girlfriend preferred anal sex, I was like, oh, this guy is depraved. And I said, you're getting off on talking about this stuff to me right now. Like, when men are openly talking about their sexual history with strange women, they're getting off on it. He's probably got his hand in his pants right now. And he said, excuse me? Basically, I go against your warped ideology, and you're desperate to hate men. Of course, it's just feminazi. I have to let Napoleon out. He wants to poop, probably. He can't deal with all this shit. But he just says, he's like, I'm just going against your warped ideology. You just want to hate men. No, I want to hold men the fuck accountable for when they're being fucking violent and making excuses for it. Like, what? Come on. And I said, you're desperate to excuse male violence. You're disgusting. And he said, no, I'm not at all. I clearly don't like any aggression towards women. And I said, you think anally penetrating women is fine, though? That's violent. And he said, so gay men that practice that are violent. Of course, right? So. And I said, I don't care if a woman asks for it. She's a victim of abuse and is asking you to re-traumatize her. Get it through your fucking skull. And he said, that's absurd. I've never once asked for it either. And I said, your dick feels aren't important. The physical, emotional well-being of your partner is. And he said, she told me it was her preference. Haha, this is insane. I said, you're a selfish prick if you take that at face value and take advantage of her like that. She is sick in the head and you abused her. You should be disgusted with yourself. Take advantage? You know nothing about what I actually want. If you didn't want to anally penetrate her, you wouldn't have done it, you fucking idiot. Like, oh, my dick fell into her asshole because she asked for it. No! You can't have it both ways. She asked for it, but I didn't want to do it, but I did it, but I didn't want to do it. What? This is gaslighting. This is what men do. Okay. So I said, So gay men who practice that are violent. So, of course, I had this lined up. Gay men don't have clitorises, vaginas, vulvas, and their prostate is in their asshole, numbskull. And he said, you're speaking like she's a child. Take advantage, you know nothing about what I actually want. And I said, you care more about excusing your own sexual abuse than women's well-being. So basically, I'm an abusive rapist because she told me there's something she likes and I did it for her. You care more about your dick than women's well-being, I reiterated. The girl ended up leaving me because she didn't want to be too emotionally involved with someone, LOL. I remember once I was cuddling her. I don't fucking care about this relationship. He's just trying to make excuses. This girl ended up leaving me because she didn't want to be involved with someone. And I said, because Because she has no fucking boundaries. She has no sexual boundaries. And you reinforced that by penetrating her asshole like it's nothing. And he said, but I bloody didn't ask for nor want anal. But you did, because you did it. I wanted to make her happy because she told me it's what she wants. But you took your penis and put it in her asshole because you wanted it too. I'm sorry I'm listening to my woman and catering to what she wants. If you were catering to what she wants, you would just eat her out 24/7. And get her a really nice vibrator. That's what women want. That's what's pleasurable to us. Anyways, maybe I should treat her like an infant or something, as you suggest. I said, if a woman says choke me and you do it, you're just looking for a reason to choke a woman. Maybe I should just treat her like an infant. I said, leave women the fuck alone, because you obviously don't see us as people worthy of respect, just different holes you can fuck. But I've had 3 separate women tell me they like it. He's so desperate to cling to this idea of himself as a noble person, as a man who just did what his partner wanted to. He's so desperate to cling to that. But 3 other independent women, this is anecdotal evidence. This is not logical. This is him backpedaling. This is him trying to make excuses for abusing, taking advantage of an abuse victim. And he said, actually, I have refused to choke women because it scares me. And I said, oh, fuck right off. You're not poor little dove. You're scared of killing her and facing justice. And then it would be your asshole getting penetrated in prison. Where's the lie? He said, I'm scared of hurting someone, and this is so divorced from me. This is quite odd, because I'm telling you the truth. What's particularly amusing is you're painting me as the actual opposite of what I am. No, man, you just have a very, very distorted view of who you actually are. I'm just revealing who you actually are to yourself. This is who you are, dude. Open your eyes. Live with this. Live with yourself. Ask for forgiveness from whatever God you plead to, because you're sick, dude. You're depraved. And you're trying to make so many excuses for it. And that's so narcissistic and disgusting. I would say in many ways we don't entirely disagree. I do find that women are actually happier when you have passionate, sensual sex. Yeah. He's definitely he's got his hands in his pants right now. Right? We all know that. Right? Okay. Yeah, and then I said, I'm live. Gonna shit talk you. And he said, please don't. I'm a private person. I spoke to you in confidence. And I said, I don't care. But you're completely wrong. You're using your clout to try and hurt someone entirely innocent simply for privately disagreeing with you. I don't have fucking clout, dude. I don't know what the fuck. I don't know who you are. I'm not gonna send people to fucking harass you. Nobody cares about you. You're just an example. You're just an NPC of a misogynistic man who thinks that pornified examples of sexuality are just fine, and that there's no reason to critically think or delve in deeper into why we do what we do in the bedroom, and whether or not, it's actually helpful in the long run to our mental and emotional and spiritual and physical well-being. Like, if something someone told me they liked, I had no reason to believe otherwise. Again, she said she liked it, I just did it, I didn't think any deeper about it. That means that you wanted to do it, and you were excited that you had an excuse. Any man who thinks that it's okay to be violent to a woman during sex is a man who wants to be violent to women all the time, but is just looking for her to give him an excuse. And women who think that they want violence from their partner during sex grew up in abusive households where they never knew what real love was. They never had sexual boundaries. They might have been pimped out by their own families from a young age. Or they might have fled home and been homeless and been abused on the street and sex trafficked. Or they could be women who have just become addicted to porn. And because of porn, they've had all of their concepts and ideas of what a normal sexuality is completely warped and brainwashed. Which means that they're a victim of grooming. Because you can't, people need to understand that there is a normal base, healthy sexuality. And it involves consent. It involves communication. It involves a mutual understanding of an exchange of pleasure and intimacy and emotional connection. Doesn't matter the sex of the person, but what really matters is the power balance between the people. And in a lot of relationships, in most relationships, no matter the sex, there is a power imbalance between one person and the other person. It may just be physical strength, it may be psychological strength, emotional strength, right? We all know that some husbands kind of get led around by their wives, and some husbands are very commanding and the wives are more demure, and same thing with gay couples and lesbian couples. That tends to be the dynamic of relationship. One person is a little bit more dominant than the other person. And the dominant person has a responsibility to not take advantage of their partner for their own selfish desires. That's morally wrong. And it doesn't lead to a fruitful, successful, loving relationship. And it exposes you as a selfish person. As a person who is willing to excuse their own violent behavior. Porn has ruined people. Stop making excuses for porn in real life. Stop making excuses for people who are perpetuating porn. That's not sex. Sex is not porn. You can't watch sex. You can't observe it. Sex is private. It's something you experience with one other person. It's the only thing that should be able, in my opinion, to lead to the conception of human life. I think it's very creepy and weird, and I could point you guys to some documentaries about this, of how many children were conceived not through sex, and are now growing up and reckoning with how much of a different experience that truly is to know that you weren't conceived by your parents having sex. And I think that this disconnect between normal, healthy sex between two consenting adults in the privacy of their own home, where they're both focusing on each other's, an exchange of mutual pleasure between each other, and not taking advantage of the power imbalance for their own selfish desires. Very good point, Captain again. Men can't tell the difference between a domestic violent case or a rape case and porn. Because a lot of the time, porn is filmed rape. It is filmed domestic violence. It's not a fantasy. If you search Layla Micklethwaite has a lot of really good stuff on this. She talks a lot about Pornhub and how it's just riddled with rape and sex trafficking. And some of the most searched terms are like runaway teen, homeless teen. And you think those are fantasies? No, they're real girls. They're real girls that are getting picked up off the street and abused. And men get off on that. And then they come into a feminist's DM and say, I gotta disagree with you on this. If a woman asks me to put my dick in her asshole, I'm gonna do it. But I don't want to, but I'm gonna do it. Are you fucking serious, dude? You should upload a video on the importance of knowing your parents and being alienated from genuine intimacy. I would actually really love to do that, but what I would love to do is actually interview both of my parents because my mom was adopted as an infant, and my dad became an orphan as a young child and was raised in foster care. I've never met a biological grandparent. I've seen photos of one, or no, I've seen photos of 3 of them, but one of them I've never seen a photo of her, my maternal grandmother. So I even have a little bit of that like generational residual alienation from my ancestry. Like, and then even like my mom, like she's adopted, so like everyone on her side of the family is not biologically related to me, even though I've grown up with them and they're my cousins and aunts and uncles and whatever. Like that's my family and my family bond is there, but there still isn't that blood connection where we look at each other and we see the resemblance. On my dad's side, it's different because we all have. My dad has a lot of siblings, and like he wasn't adopted out of his family because. You know, he was adopted out of his family because there were so many kids. Basically, they had to send them to different foster homes to take after the youngest ones, because the older ones were kind of like too old to take care of them. But anyways, the main thing with the parental alienation and this idea that children can be a commodity, that you can buy and sell gametes. That's what's happening. We're buying and selling sperm and ova. From countries, you know, where you don't even know how they're sourcing these things from the women and men, you know. And anonymous sperm donors, like they're in one of the documentaries I watched about it, they discussed the fact that there's so much potential for accidental incest, because one sperm donor could father like 300 people and they could all be living in the same state and not know that they're biologically related. How creepy is that? Like, there's so much ethical wrongness with this, and it plays into this idea to divorce ourselves from the idea that, like, yeah, sex is real, it matters, and is what leads to reproduction, and obviously, like, not with gay sex, but I think my personal theory is that gay people, obviously, have existed throughout all civilizations that we can list and remember. That's what the two-spirit thing was. It was like gay men and who didn't like conform to society. Like, there's a lot of these third genders, and most of them were gay men. And there is some theories that you know, homosexuality evolved as like an evolutionary advantage for less competing for mates, right? Like, so if there was like 5 brothers and only one female mate, the 5 brothers would like try to kill each other to get with this one female, whereas if one of the brothers was gay, or 2 of the brothers were gay, or, you know, whatever, then they wouldn't have that drive to reproduce, and it would lead to less, like, fighting amongst the men. So I think that's quite interesting. Like, I don't know how much truth there is to it, but I think it's an interesting way to look at it, because we do know that gay people have existed forever. We do know that it's something that you can't force someone to change or whatever. Like, it's something that's you know, ingrained in someone's personality, let's say. Like, I think personality doesn't form until you're a certain age, but I think it's ingrained in people's personality by the time that personality's formed. So I don't think that you can change people, and I think that, like, for the most part, giving gay people the right to just live in privacy in the way that they want to and not be stigmatized for their own private sexual lives, that should be great, because really it's none of our business. Like, we should go back to a society where asking people's sexuality was wrong, you know, because it's private and it's not something that other people really need to know, you know. Like, the amount of people too that just assume I'm a lesbian from the way I look or the way that I talk, it's so fascinating to me. You know what I mean? Like, I talk all the time, like I mention casually about my husband and my marriage and my wedding and being straight. I made a video about super straight, and like, but people just don't think to actually look at the whole person before just judging them. And to me, that's homophobia. Just judging someone and saying that, oh, they must be gay because they such and such and such. Or if they're gay, they must also such and such and such. You know? And also, we were talking about aversion versus attraction, and I think that there's certainly people, like, I know people that were gay, but that are gay, but have been in relationships with people of the opposite sex, and, you know, I think that the reason they're able to do that is because they have lower aversion for straight sex, but they have higher attraction for homosexual sex, in the same way that a lot of straight people have high aversion to gay sex, and high attraction to, heterosexual sex. I don't know anything of your personal life. All I know is you stick up for women's rights. Yes, thank you. And I think, like, the divide that's been exposed kind of in feminism since day one, really, is that there's women who are feminist in title and label, and then there's women that are feminist in action. And I think feminism is a verb. I don't think it's just like a theory. I think it's things that you do. I think that's things that you advocate for. I think that it's actions that you show. I think it's, like, for instance, this thing with Artie and Karen. There are women that are defending Artie still in the comments of Karen's videos, and at this point, you are siding with a man over a woman when he's so obviously in the wrong, right? Because it's really not about whether or not, it's really even not about the issue anymore. It's the way that he behaved towards women in a woman's space, talking about our issues and our concerns and our feelings, and making it all about how he was hurt. So you need to be aware that you don't need to agree with everybody and everything, but you do need to see the way they act and the way they treat people when they disagree with you. And I would hope that, I can disagree with this guy because I have a lot of stuff to back up what I'm saying. What he's saying to me is backing up what I'm saying. The fact that he's saying, well, she asked me to, that's why I did it. I could say, well, then you were just looking for a reason. Because if you didn't want to do it, you wouldn't have done it ever. And you know how I know that? Personal experience. I've met men who I've asked to do things, and they said, I'm not going to do that. I'm not comfortable with that. Makes me feel weird. And I had to, that made me stop and think, why am I asking for this? It's a bit weird, isn't it? I thought he would just jump at the opportunity, but he's actually saying, no, you should think about this. And when I stopped and think about it, I was like, oh, actually, yeah, I don't want that. That's what men should do. They should go, I'm not comfortable with that, and you shouldn't be either. Set a fucking example. Set a standard. The bar for men is in the fucking gutter. If men go, if she asks for it, I'll do it. Really? But you don't say that about the fucking housework. Colleague insulted me for saying the truth about trans women using our spaces. She yelled at me because her son is a trans woman. I'm sorry, Naya. Here's the thing about her, too, is that we have to see her as a victim of brainwashing and abuse, and try not to express, our vitriol and our anger at her, because I'm sure that she's been very, very heavily gaslit by her son. And like I said in one of my other videos, it must be such a mindfuck for mothers to have their grown sons then turn around and claim to be women. Like, it must be so, like, she can't confront the fact that her son fetishizes her very existence. It's too hard for her, so she has to lash out at women just for pointing out the truth. So I'm really sorry that that happened to you. A colleague, like, she should know better than to just shout at people at work, but you're really cracking a hole in her safe little reality that she's built herself. She doesn't want to admit that her son is a porn sick creep. She really doesn't. It's really sad. And yeah, that's an example of another woman throwing another woman under the bus for a man, screaming at your colleague at work because of your son. Like, she should almost be fired for that, to be honest. I'm sorry, but, like, that's not acceptable behavior. We need to be grown-ups. We need to take responsibility for our actions. Like, why is anal not held up as the ultimate prize? Men have successfully brainwashed women into thinking that if they do it, men will be really happy. He wanted to. Richard has violent male desire. He is porn sick. Exactly. You can't excuse this after the fact. You did it. You did it. If you didn't want to do it, you wouldn't have done it. No one had a gun to your head. She wasn't gonna, like, fucking murder you if you said no. Unlike men with their desires that they try to force on women sometimes. Just got dumped for my gender critical views. Guess I win and I lose. Dodged a bullet, girl. You don't want to date a guy who is porn sick. Like, literally, I feel like, you know, as much as like Christian guys can also be misogynistic, find a guy that doesn't watch porn at all right now, and at least he'll be better off than a lot of the guys on the left who think that sex work is work and justify it and argue with feminists and call us swerfs and turfs. Like, that is a deeper level of women hate, because they don't just see women as, you know, the God instilled in me the paternalistic right to guide my wife and blah, blah. Like, it's very, like, that is misogynistic, but at least it's not the outward, like, I want to violently rape you and call it a fetish. Like, let's be honest. Like, they're just not the same. They're not comparable. She's in pain, but she was too aggressive. Of course she was, because fear and anger and hate are very closely related. Like, the reason I'm so angry is because I'm afraid of these fucking dudes. That's why I'm angry that they're trying to take my rights, because I should be afraid, because they're dangerous. You know what I mean? Like, I should be afraid of men that want to harm me. Jeez. And you know, and that's why she's afraid. She's afraid of having to confront the fact that her husband's a pervert, or her son's pervert. She's a teacher. Yeah, she's so lost, man. She's so trapped in this cult. It would be so hard for, like, you're a suppressive, you're a heretic. It'd be so hard for her to accept that what you're saying is true and that you're trying to help her escape this brainwashing. I bet we could find his porn stash real quick. Yeah. He's still messaging me, so I'll get back to it in a second. Men are desperate for validation from women. Richard, the violent, porn-sick creep who messages women to try and impose his pervert thoughts on others. Yes. Men are never happy, and they have to drag us down. Porn-sick. He's a good lefty man. Yeah. Find a guy who likes animals, does basic household chores, and not into rape on tape. Exactly. My advice is also to find a man who has, like, a skill, like an actual physical skill that he can do. Even if it's not like household stuff, like stereotypical masculine stuff, like car stuff, whatever. Find a guy who's, like, really devoted to learning and doing something. Because men that have a purpose aren't raging psychopaths most of the time. You know what I mean? Like, they're not falling into depths of despair. Like, they have hobbies. Like, find a man that has hobbies. And also, definitely the housework is important. Find a man who understands, like, that it's a give and take. Like, you know, you do this and I do that, and then, you know, this is easier for you to do, so I'll do this, and I don't mind doing that, so I'll do that. Like, it's a compromise, right? It's not just the woman does everything, but it's also not like the man should have to do everything too. It's a compromise. Turf is on car with cunt, bitch, witch, etc. Yep. And heretic. Ashram is the wife of Yahweh. She was taken out of the Bible. Ashira. There's also Lilith, who is the first woman that no one likes to talk about because she was evicted from Eden and I guess became, like, the queen of demons or something? I don't know. In Spanish, we call this kind of women penis carers. Yeah. They just care for the penis so much. Somebody's got to care for the poor little penises. Find a guy on NoFap. Yeah, I mean, even that's, like, a step in the right direction, because at least they know that even if they haven't really come to terms with why it's morally wrong, they at least know that it's physically harming their bodies, you know. Yahweh has a friggin' wife? What? Well, it's like, how could Yahweh birth the world if he's a man? If we're talking about that, right? Okay, it's something someone told me they liked. It's just him trying again, yeah. Really warped. I am happy for you to teach me the error of my ways. Is he, though? When she told me that was her preference, what was I supposed to tell her? You're supposed to tell her, I don't think that's right. I think that you've been manipulated into thinking that that's what you like. And I don't want to do that. Like, there are men, I know there are, from personal experience, I know there are men that find the idea of putting their penis in anyone's asshole disgusting. And there's plenty of gay men that know that it requires some preparation, it requires, like, some cleanup afterwards sometimes. It's a big deal for them. They prepare for it, you know? They have their own little routine, their own culture surrounding that sex act that they all happily consent to, but they understand that it's very, very, very different than what straight sex is supposed to be, right? Straight sex is not supposed to involve the asshole at all. Mutual respect, people have sexual boundaries. Yes. So if she's asking you to put your penis in her butthole, then can she put a dildo in your butthole? And for the same amount of time? Like, just tell your woman she's been groomed. Yeah. I'm sorry, you watch too much porn. You don't actually want that. What you want is for someone to love you and care about your pleasure and prioritize actual connection and intimacy and your emotional well-being as well. Like, these people just want to act like sex is devoid from your emotions, like it's just an act and it doesn't contribute any other rippling effects to the rest of your life. The same people that want to act that porn is just a fantasy and it doesn't have a ripple effect and change the way that you act in your sex life. Right? It's not the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. It's the Father, the Mother, and the child. In short, Jesus does what she says. So the Holy Spirit is the mother. I kind of get that because the Holy Spirit is kind of more ethereal, more intuitive, less concrete and physical, like Jesus as the man, right? And I guess God. If the father and the mother were on par, then I think it would make sense. I don't know. It's very interesting to talk about this stuff. I like what you're saying. Like, yeah, I'm not like, stop talking about Jesus. Like, no, I love talking about this kind of stuff. I think it's very interesting. How does this guy not manage to connect the dots? Yeah. Thanks, Naya. You rock too. Thanks for your support. I like getting your messages. Scrolling up to see if I missed anything. What else did he say? So what I loved for was a sexual preference. I wasn't against it, and I wasn't against it. So I did it. Yeah, you're not against it? You're a fucking creep. You're a degenerate perv. If you're not against doing it, then you wanted to do it. You're just looking for an excuse. Thank you. You told me, with your words, exactly what we all needed to know. You're a rape apologist. Great. You're targeting the wrong person here, Vanessa. You opened your goddamn mouth. You came into my fucking DMs. Okay, are you watching my live? Because I'm talking to you. I'm talking directly to you. I'm just waiting to see. Okay. You came into my DMs. You said, normally I agree with you, but my girlfriend preferred anal. And I'm targeting the wrong person? You take responsibility for fucking actions, dude. You came into my DMs and tried to change my mind or make me feel bad for you. Or what? I don't know. But you came into my fucking DMs and tried to argue against what I believed and know to be true, which is that women don't want anal sex and that the women that say they want that have been groomed and abused. Like, he's trying to convince me otherwise or make him feel bad. Like, yeah. No, he's not watching it. I'm not going to either. You have mischaracterized me through an ideological lens. No, I've just pointed out that you are a degenerate creep. You are into anally penetrating women. Gross. You're gross. I admire you, Vanessa. You're a brave person and now you're hurt. Then watch my live, you fucking idiot. Fucking coward. I said, you're into anally penetrating women. And he said, I'm not, though. But he just said before, if they're asking for something and I'm not, and I'm into it, like I'm not against it. Being not against something means you're for it. Gaslighter. Gaslighter. You liar. Doing anything to get your ass farther. That's a Dixie Chicks song. They call themselves the Chicks, whatever. They're fucking Dixie Chicks. He should join the live by actually speaking. Oh, that would be really funny because he'd just make an ass of himself. If women are requesting this shit, it's because of abuse and trauma, and it's the men's job to say no. Yes, because if they didn't want to continue traumatizing and abusing this woman, then they wouldn't. They just wouldn't do it. So I said, being not against something means you're for it. Gaslighter. And he said, I don't really care about your shaming tactics. I had someone I care about and like express a sexual preference they had, and I did it for them. Because you wanted to anally penetrate, because you wanted to abuse her. It's abusive. It doesn't matter. Yes, you did, dude. Welcome to reality. Look yourself in the face. Look yourself in the mirror. Watch my live. I said it all there. Alright, I'm gonna log off so Richard can watch this, and maybe I'll come on later on YouTube with Ella, if Ella wants to, because I know that she's, I think she's home today, so I'll see if Ella wants to go on YouTube, and, or maybe tomorrow or something, I don't know. We'll see. Okay. Bye, guys. Oh wait, I'll just read this first. I can confirm from experience that this sort of abusive sexual behavior accelerates and intensifies as a relationship becomes progressively less healthy. Yep. Men, if a woman asks you to do something that is abusive to her, she's asking you to re-traumatize her, to re-abuse her. That's her coping mechanism. She can't accept the fact that what was done to her is wrong, so she's trying to do it again and claim that it's for her own empowerment or for her own well-being and her own spiritual well-being or whatever. She's wrong. She's deeply unwell. People that are mentally unwell don't want what's best for themselves. People who are trans are deeply, deeply unwell. They don't want what's best for themselves. They're taking all these surgeries and hormones and not thinking long-term about the ramifications. Girls that ask to be abused by their partners are not thinking about the long-term ramifications of how that's going to make them feel in the long term and how that's going to affect their relationship in the long term. For a man to just impulsively do something just because a woman says, yeah, just do it, and to not use his critical thinking skills means that he's not looking for he's not looking to have a long, committed, healthy relationship with this woman. All he cares about is getting his dick wet and getting off. And then making excuses for it afterwards and saying, but I'm not that guy. You're saying that I'm a person that I'm not. You're mischaracterizing me. This is what this guy is fucking saying right now. He's saying I'm mischaracterizing him and that I'm attacking him or whatever when he came into my DMs to talk about how his girlfriend preferred anal sex. And that the guys he knows are uncomfortable with choking a woman until she turns blue. But they do it because the woman asks for it. Are you fucking kidding me, dude? Are you fucking kidding me? I really hope he does watch this. And I hope that he feels disgusted with himself, as he rightfully should. And he doesn't date any women until he unlearns this misogynistic propaganda. He needs to read about child sexual abuse victims. He needs to read the stats on domestic abuse and how it starts, and the rough sex defense and all the men trying to say that, oh, well, she wanted rough sex and it just went too far and that's why she died. They're murdering their wives in cold blood and getting away with it by saying that she asked for it. Fuck these creeps. Okay, bye.